Claire sank into the couch, feeling the weight of the day press on her shoulders. The house was quiet, almost too quiet. Upstairs, Michael, her husband, slept deeply after his late-night shift. She could hear the soft sound of his breathing through the floorboards, a reminder of the life they had built together. On most days, she would feel comforted by this. But today there was a strange emptiness she couldn't ignore. She had been alone all evening. The usual routine of cooking, cleaning, and television somehow feeling hollow. She wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, trying to shake off the restlessness in her mind. The hum of the fridge and the distant city sounds were the only things breaking the silence. It was then that she heard a knock at the door, soft but deliberate, interrupting her thoughts. Who could that be at this hour? She murmured, curiosity mingling with a strange flutter of anticipation. She crossed the living room and opened the door to find a familiar face, one she hadn't seen in years. Anna, her college roommate, stood there, smiling with hesitation and warmth. Behind her, two more familiar figures stepped forward, Tom and Sarah. Friends from the days before responsibilities had taken over their lives. Claire froze, her heart skipping a beat. Seeing them brought a rush of nostalgia she hadn't felt in a long time. "Claire, is it really you?" Anna said, her eyes shining with excitement. Claire nodded, her voice catching slightly. "Yes, it's me. I can't believe it's really you all." The friends embraced, laughter and small exclamations filling the air. The years melted away in those first moments. Old memories came rushing back: late-night study sessions, endless coffee runs, silly arguments, and heartfelt conversations that had once defined who she was. They stepped into the living room, and Claire noticed how different yet familiar they all seemed. Life had shaped them, yet some essence remained untouched. Sarah had grown into a poised and confident woman, while Tom carried the quiet strength Claire remembered from their college days. Anna had kept her warm, open-hearted energy, and together, they created a bubble of familiarity and comfort in her otherwise orderly home. They settled on the couch and the floor, forming a casual circle as they began to talk. At first it was small talk: jobs, the city, mutual acquaintances. But as minutes turned into hours, the conversation deepened, revealing hidden emotions, long-buried worries, and dreams that had shifted over the years. Claire listened, sometimes sharing, sometimes quietly observing. She realized how much she had missed the sense of being understood without explanation, of being part of a circle where she could truly be herself. As the night wore on, laughter mixed with moments of silence that were far from awkward. There was an unspoken understanding between them that allowed each person to open up slowly. Tom spoke about the challenges he faced at work, the pressures that often left him exhausted but determined. Sarah confessed her struggles with balancing her personal life and ambitions. And Anna shared how loneliness sometimes crept in despite being surrounded by people. Claire, for her part, felt a lump in her throat as she realized how much she had kept hidden from Michael. Her husband was kind, loving, and dependable, but he had never fully known this side of Hertha, side that longed for deep, meaningful connection with friends who understood her without judgment. They decided to play a game, a nostalgic choice that brought immediate energy to the room. Cards were shuffled, rules were explained with laughter, and soon the living room was filled with playful banter. Claire found herself laughing harder than she had in months, the sound startling her at first. She felt a lightness that had been absent for too long, a freedom to be spontaneous and carefree even for a few hours. As the game continued, Claire noticed the way the shadows of the room played across the walls, the gentle glow of the lamp casting soft patterns on her friends' faces. She saw the same warmth in their eyes that she remembered, the comfort of familiarity mingled with the thrill of rediscovery. Her heart felt strangely alive, a mixture of happiness, longing, and something she couldn't name. There were moments when she caught herself staring at Anna, noticing the little ways she moved, the way her smile lit up her face. She chastised herself quietly. These were just old friends, but the feelings lingered, subtle and confusing. Then she noticed Tom leaning forward in thought, and Sarah quietly listening with a look that mirrored her own reflections. The emotions were complicated, layered, and undeniable. Claire realized that what she was experiencing wasn't about wanting more than her marriage, but about remembering what it was like to feel deeply seen and heard. Michael loved her, yes, but the depth of these friendships tapped into a part of her heart that had lain dormant for years. She felt the tension of emotions, a mix of joy, guilt, and the bittersweet ache of nostalgia. Time passed unnoticed. The clock ticked, and the city outside continued its distant rhythm. But inside Claire's home, the night had transformed into something timeless. They shared stories of heartbreak, triumphs, and regrets. They spoke of love lost and rediscovered, of dreams postponed and pursued. Claire shared quietly, cautiously at first, revealing fears she hadn't voiced to anyone. She felt tears prick her eyes, and for the first time in a long time, she felt understood without explanation or judgment. Upstairs, Michael slept on, completely unaware of the emotional whirlwind downstairs. Claire glanced toward the staircase and felt a pang of guilt. But even with guilt, she couldn't deny the truth of the moments, the laughter, the warmth. The connection, it was real and necessary for her soul. Anna suggested they look at old photos on Claire's phone, and soon they were flipping through images from years past. There were snapshots of college parties, road trips, lazy Sundays, and silly moments that made them laugh until their cheeks hurt. Claire felt a rush of gratitude for these memories and a strange longing for the simplicity of youth, a reminder that life had layers beyond her daily routines. The night deepened, and the group grew quieter, more introspective. Tom shared a story about a mistake he had made years ago, the weight it carried and how he had learned from it. Sarah spoke about the bittersweet choices she had made in love and career. And Anna confessed fears she still battled despite apparent success. Claire listened, sometimes offering comfort, sometimes simply acknowledging. She felt a quiet strength in their presence, a gentle reminder that connection didn't always need words, it was in shared silence, understanding glances, and mutual empathy. Claire's gaze wandered around the room. The familiar surroundings of her home felt transformed, charged with emotion, laughter, and intimacy of a different kind. She realized that friendships could be just as profound as romantic love, sometimes even more illuminating because they reflected the parts of ourselves we rarely see. She smiled softly, a tear slipping down her cheek as she acknowledged the unexpected depth of the evening at some point. The conversation drifted to the future hopes, fears, and possibilities. Claire found herself imagining new experiences, new ways of living that balanced love, marriage, and meaningful friendships. She thought about Michael, her life with him, and the security he brought. And then she thought about herself, the parts of her heart that had been left unspoken for years. She understood that both could coexist: love for her husband and the deep, emotional bond with friends who reminded her of who she truly was. As the clock approached midnight, Anna suggested it was time to leave. There were goodbyes, promises to meet again, and lingering hugs that spoke volumes. Claire walked them to the door, feeling the weight of absence already settling in. She closed the door behind them and leaned against it, breathing deeply, absorbing the emotional intensity of the night. The house was quiet again. Michael slept upstairs, oblivious to the emotional journey Claire had just experienced. She sat back down on the couch, a blanket around her shoulders, feeling a strange mix of guilt and fulfillment. She realized that life was full of unexpected encounters, moments that could shift perspectives and awaken hidden parts of the heart. She smiled softly to herself, knowing that the memories of tonight would stay with her, shaping the way she understood herself and her relationships. Claire looked toward the staircase once more, contemplating the complexity of her emotions. Love, friendship, longing, and gratitude all were swirling inside her. She didn't need to label them or resolve them immediately. They simply existed, real and alive. And for the first time in a long time, she felt fully present, fully aware of the richness of her own heart. The night ended not with answers, but with reflection, a gentle, emotional awakening that reminded Claire of the power of connection, the depth of old friendships, and the beauty of rediscovering herself while navigating the life she had built. Upstairs, Michael slept on, And downstairs, Claire embraced the quiet, carrying with her the echoes of laughter, shared stories, and the subtle, undeniable truth that hearts were complex, ever-changing, and always capable of feeling deeply. Morning light filtered softly through the curtains, painting the living room in gentle gold. Claire sat at the kitchen table, cradling a warm cup of coffee, her thoughts still tangled with the memories of last night. Her friends had left early, promising to meet again soon. But the echo of their laughter lingered in the house, along with the quiet sense of awakening she had felt downstairs. She could still feel the emotional warmth of connection that had been missing in her life for months. Even years, Michael came down the stairs slowly, his hair tousled and eyes still heavy with sleep. "Morning," he said softly, smiling. His presence was comforting, familiar, steady, the life she had chosen, the stability she appreciated. Claire smiled back, holding her emotions close. She wasn't ready to explain everything from last night, not yet. Some experiences, she realized, were hers alone to cherish and reflect on. They ate breakfast together in quiet harmony, the usual routine feeling different somehow. Claire noticed small details she had overlooked before, the sunlight catching Michael's hair just so. The gentle sound of his spoon against the bowl, the rhythm of his breathing. She felt a quiet gratitude for their life together, the love that had brought them through years of challenges and joys. Yet, alongside this comfort was the subtle awareness of a part of her heart that had been awakened by last night's reunion. In the days that followed, Claire found herself reflecting often on the time spent with Anna, Tom, and Sarah. She began calling them more frequently, arranging casual meetups and sharing little moments that she hadn't shared with anyone else in years. The friendships that had once been casual and carefree had evolved into lifelines of emotional connection. Reminding her of the parts of herself she had set aside, she realized that love and friendship could coexist, complementing rather than competing with one another. During one of these visits, Claire and Anna took a walk through a nearby park, the crisp air filling their lungs. They talked about life's pressures, unfulfilled dreams, and subtle regrets. Claire admitted how lonely she sometimes felt, despite being surrounded by love and stability. Anna listened, nodding gently, reminding Claire that feeling deeply didn't diminish the love she had for Michael, simply reflected the richness of her own heart. Meanwhile, Tom and Sarah became part of these gatherings, their presence creating an emotional web of trust and understanding. Claire noticed that with them, she could express thoughts she had long kept silent. She could laugh freely, cry quietly, and simply be herself without explanation. This emotional openness reminded her of her younger days, when life was less structured and the heart was allowed to roam freely in search of understanding and connection. One evening, as Claire prepared dinner, she found herself replaying moments from the previous night. She thought about Tom's quiet strength, Sarah's attentiveness, and Anna's warmth. She realized that her happiness didn't come from longing for romantic adventure, but from the simple reassurance that she could be fully seen and valued. These friendships reminded her that emotional intimacy was a fundamental human need, one that could flourish alongside the love of her marriage. Michael noticed subtle changes in her demeanor. He commented, "You seem lighter lately, happier. What's going on?" Claire smiled softly, unsure how to respond. "I've just been reconnecting with some old friends," she said. That was true, and it felt like enough explanation for now. She didn't need to detail every feeling, every moment of emotional revelation. What mattered was that she was learning to embrace her own heart again. As weeks passed, the rhythm of Claire's life began to shift in small but meaningful ways. She found joy in the little things, long conversations over coffee, spontaneous walks with friends, laughter that echoed through her home. These moments didn't replace her marriage. They enriched it. She began to see that emotional fulfillment didn't have to come from a single source. The love she shared with Michael was strong and reliable, but the friendships she nurtured brought color, laughter, and depth to her daily life. One rainy afternoon, Claire and Anna sat by the window, sipping tea and watching the droplets slide down the glass. Anna spoke about challenges at work, frustrations with unfulfilled goals, and small victories she wanted to celebrate. Claire listened intently, offering empathy and shared understanding. In these moments, she realized how much she had craved emotional resonance, someone who could reflect her own experiences back to her with kindness and honesty. She felt lighter, more alive, and more in touch with herself than she had in years. Claire also began to notice a subtle transformation in her relationship with Michael. She was more patient, more present, and more appreciative of the steady, dependable love he offered. She realized that nurturing her friendships didn't detract from her marriage. It enhanced it. She could love more deeply because she was more complete emotionally, and Michael sensed the change. Their conversations became richer, more meaningful. They laughed together, shared small stories from the day, and cherished the quiet moments that reminded them why they had chosen each other. One evening, Claire hosted a small dinner with all four friends. The atmosphere was warm, filled with laughter and gentle conversation. They reminisced about old times, shared new experiences, and expressed gratitude for the ways in which they had grown. Claire felt an unexpected sense of balance. She could embrace her past friendships, cherish her present relationships, and look forward to a future rich with connection. After the guests left, Claire sat alone on the couch reflecting. She understood something important. Life was layered. Hearts were complex, and emotional fulfillment could come from multiple sources. Her love for Michael remained strong, steady, and enduring. But the bonds she shared with friends reminded her that personal growth and emotional exploration were equally vital. She felt a quiet sense of empowerment, knowing she could navigate life's complexity with grace and openness. Days turned into weeks, and the pattern continued. Claire's friendships grew stronger, her marriage deepened, and her understanding of herself expanded. She discovered the subtle joy of sharing thoughts and feelings without fear of judgment, of laughing freely without constraint, and of being fully alive in each moment. These experiences reminded her that human hearts were capable of extraordinary resilience, capable of holding love, friendship, and self-discovery all at once. Michael noticed the shift more and more. He commented one evening, "You seem more yourself lately. I can see it in your eyes." Claire smiled, feeling warmth at his observation. She realized that the changes in her heart were not hidden or secret. They were reflections of a deeper emotional balance she had cultivated by embracing her friendships and nurturing her own emotional needs. She had become more present, more loving, more engaged in her life. Claire's journey continued with gentle, profound lessons. She realized that love was not a static emotion but a living, evolving force. It required patience, attention, and care. Her marriage thrived because she brought her whole self to it, being formed by the richness of her friendships and the emotional depths she had rediscovered. She understood that human connections, whether with a spouse, friends, or oneself, were the threads that wove a life into something vibrant, meaningful, and deeply fulfilling. One quiet evening, as she sat on the porch watching the sunset, Claire reflected on the journey she had undertaken. She thought about last night's laughter, Anna's comforting words, Tom's quiet strength, and Sarah's gentle attentiveness. She thought about Michael's unwavering support, the stability he provided, and the love that remained constant. She realized that life's richness came from embracing all these connections fully, without fear or hesitation. The night arrived with a calm sense of completion. Claire felt whole, emotionally nourished, and deeply connected to the people who mattered most. She understood that hearts were not simple or linear. They were layered, capable of holding multiple forms of love, connection, and growth simultaneously. She had learned that true happiness came not from choosing one source of love over another, but from embracing all forms of meaningful human connection. Upstairs, Michael slept peacefully, unaware of the quiet revelations that had transformed Claire's inner life. Downstairs, she embraced the stillness, knowing that her journey was ongoing but profoundly enriched. She had rediscovered herself, rekindled deep friendships, and strengthened her marriage not by replacing love, but by nurturing it alongside the emotional bonds that reminded her of who she truly was. In that quiet, golden night, Claire smiled softly, understanding that life's beauty lay not only in romantic love, but in the friendships, laughter, shared vulnerability, and emotional honesty that made hearts resilient and whole. She had walked a delicate path, navigated complex feelings, and emerged stronger, more self-aware, and more capable of embracing the fullness of life. And so life continued, not with drama, not with upheaval, but with a gentle, deep, and meaningful rhythm. Claire had learned that hearts could hold love in many forms, that friendships could be as vital as marriage, and that emotional richness was the true foundation of a life well lived. She was awake, alive, and fully herself, ready to embrace every moment with gratitude, understanding, and quiet joy.